We're now going to talk about the east wing of the college, a central part of the college institutionally, but also the part of the college most changed by the fire of 1890. So, Peter, explain what's going on here.
Well, there's some interesting things to notice, first of all, just in general about the drawing without looking at any of the details. One thing that you notice is that these are the drawings that are signed by W.J. Langton, the Chancellor of the University, and also by the contractor Worthington, who happened to be a partner of Cumberland's. They jointly owned a brickwork together. By coincidence, it happens to be the brick that was used in all of the rear parts of University College, the West Wing, the yellow brick.
That's in Rosedale, at Rosedale Valley Station.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right, exactly. So that indicates that these are the drawings that were approved for construction. And so when we look at these, what we're looking at is the equivalent of what would be construction drawings today. For a building the size of University College today, there would be 300 or 400 drawings. There's a very limited number of drawings. And the drawings that would be used for construction today, well, first of all, they'd probably be prepared by a computer-assisted design program, but they would also be very detailed. And as you notice, these are not very detailed drawings. And I think the explanation for that is that there was a much closer relationship between architect and contractor, but there was also, I think, a set of standards for construction that the contractor knew and adhered to, and so you didn't need to do drawings that told the contractor how to lay his brick or where to fasten the windows into the wall structure or whatever it might be. So when you look at these drawings then in just a little bit more detail, and these are, once again, probably drawings of storms, you can see how color has been used in the drawing, something that would be anathema today. And the different colors in the drawings indicate the different materials. The yellowish brown that you see around the perimeter in the walls of the east wing, that indicates stonework. And the red indicates brick. And you notice how it's brick backing here behind the stonework, but then when you get to the the south end of the east wing, the stonework disappears and it's a brick facing. So those indications of material create a kind of economy in the drawing. The drawing has much less information than any modern construction drawing would have, much less. And I think, as I said, the explanation for that is the standardization of construction techniques and the different kind of relationship between the architect and the contractor.
Interesting. Just, I'm noticing a few details of what actually is portrayed in the drawings. This was the Beadle's room, so some sort of entrance for an officer of the university. And then there was a gallery above this level. That was the main stage of Convocation Hall. This is the registrar's office, which still is occupied by the current registrar. And then these are faculty offices, and this was the office I once occupied. For 30 years I occupied that office, which was originally a student room, and then, as you pointed out, there were changes made as the building was being put up almost, or at least at the beginning of the process. This was a student room. That's penciled out, a new wall put in, and these rooms are designated as faculty offices, a line of faculty offices right along this corridor. And these are classrooms opposite. There are classrooms now part of the registrar's office. Classroom in the corner that's still a classroom. This was a preparation room, I'm thinking, for a classroom next door, and now it's incorporated into the classroom, in fact, that was opposite my office for many years, and a classroom I often used.
Mm-hmm. So that you've just hinted at yet another important difference. Today, if you made a change on the construction site for some reason, you would go back to your office, you would have one of your draftsmen do a new drawing that would show that change. It would have to be approved by everybody up the line, and finally it would get back to the contractor and the change would be made. Here we can actually see the changes taking place in the drawings. And so pencil changes on the drawings indicate real changes, not just what might
Not
be.
just for instances.
Yeah, not for instances. In terms of the character of the college, one of the things to notice is that it had more, in the way of cloister, it had more, a little bit more of the character of a British college in its original design. So there is, for example, a cloister that runs along the side of Convocation Hall that disappeared after the fire and never got rebuilt. So that would have been a little like the cloister that's along the west wing of the college in front of the student rooms.
Okay.
So if we pull this across and have a look at this elevation, this is the east elevation, the elevation that faces Queen's Park of the east wing of the college, a very familiar facade. But this whole end is different because after the 1890 fire, of course, that was rebuilt, and we can talk about that separately. But here we can see quite clearly how some of the changes are indicated on the drawings. For example, there was to be a little cupola above Con Hall to indicate its significance in the whole scheme of things. You can see the large windows down the facade that lit the room. And then on the drawing, quite clearly, you can see a great big X. The cupola was simply eliminated, probably to save cost. And then in the tower over what was then called the Senate Stair, was made higher, perhaps even to compensate for this. I don't know what was in the architect's mind, but you can see that the original form of this tower was to be as shown on the drawing, and then there's a pencil line, instead of pencil lines here that indicate that it's to come up to this height rather than this height.
Which makes a very elegant tower right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a delightful change.
Right, and I was going to say though, before you said that, whether it was actually built this way or not, I don't know. We'd have to get a protractor and figure out what the angle was. So these drawings show a lot, not only about the finished form of the building, about the process of construction of the building, but about the way in which architectural offices and contractors worked together in the 19th century.